Hello, everybody. Today we are showing featured entries from the March Art Dare, and we are also announcing the May Art Dare. If you would like to grow as an artist and you can't take an art class, we've got everything you need here at Art Prof: critiques, tutorials, professional development, and workshops. The March Art Dare was for you to create artwork based on your first love, color, a color that you have a passionate love for. So let's start out with Michal Taylor-Phillips, who I believe is alive with us here in the chat. I love it when you guys can attend the live session. And so I love that Michal has been making this incredible quilt, and it's since her grandmother's passing a few months ago, using a vintage sewing machine. And we have so many pieces from all these different places, old baby blankets, grandmother's collection. And it's a beautiful piece that has so many shapes and details. This is a close-up, and here we can see that there is some repetition of some of the patterns. And this is the antique sewing machine. Isn't this amazing to see, Jordan?
Yeah, it actually kind of reminds me of my aunt's sewing machine, and it's also up there in age, I will say.
That's just the coolest thing. And then I believe we need some help from you, Michal, telling us what we're looking at, because I just love all of the various subtleties of the blue. I mean, I think, Michal, you did an amazing job, especially with value. Isn't the value range just fantastic?
Yeah, it looks really, really nice, and I love the attention to detail when it comes to just this the consistency of the shapes and trying to put in a bunch of different textures that don't overwhelm you as you're viewing it, but they feel very cohesive in a sense. I really enjoy that.
Okay, so Michal says those are the embroidery cams. Oh gosh, I don't even know what that is. Do
Uh,
you know what that is?
nope, not
Oh,
at all.
okay, I think we need a little bit more help, Michal, because apparently Jordan and I don't know anything about embroidery, but
I
it's
bet
not
Dorian
just
would
the
know.
value, it's the patterns. I love that some of the patterns are very busy, and I love how some of them are just really, I guess, more atmospheric. Like some of the patterns, I think some of the here up at the top, the contrast is a little bit lower. And so you get a slightly different type of pattern. But then I also love that there are some colors that are appearing to look like white when actually they just have like little tiny dots of light blue. So Michal says you stick them in the top of the machine and they make a pattern in the stitches. Oh my gosh, let's take another look at what this looks like. Oh, that is so cool. Thank you so much for explaining that, Michal. I think I learned something today about materials. All right. Oh, this is Michal's husband. Her name, oh, I'm sorry. Her name is pronounced like Michael, just like the traditionally male name. And I'm her dude husband named Shelby. Okay, thank you for the correction on the pronunciation. And Michael, I'm sorry, says, I think new machines just use a setting to achieve the same effect. Very cool. Okay, the next artist is Javon. And Javon's collage is called Return to Self. And Javon has been exploring accepting impermanence as a part of life inspired by Buddhist teachings. So the image represents coming to accept that although I'm constantly changing, I will always return to myself. So, what do you think about this piece, Jordan?
I think this is really fun. I love how graphic it is in terms of the way you're using just a small change in the tone and having that kind of communicate the planes of the face and the hand. I also really love the small patterns that are very, very subtle. Those kind of circular patterns there. It's really, really beautiful stuff.
And also the pattern in the background. It's
Mm.
very, very low contrast. So you could look at this really quickly and maybe not notice that. But the patterning to me is so critical to this piece because it doesn't have that flatness that you usually associate with these very hard edges. And especially even in things like the lips, there's a little bit of pattern here.
Yeah.
And wow, oh my God, look at the subtlety.
Yeah.
So many blues and they're so close in value.
Yeah. I actually really like the nose ring too. It took me a second to realize that was
Right
there.
here.
Yeah, I love that little detail. Just like a little shine. That's so fun.
Yeah, up here, these little bits of pattern, even in places like this where the value range is really, really close. But then also, Javon has these super dark, bold shapes throughout the piece. And I just love the facial expression. Isn't this a beautiful gesture?
Yeah, it is wonderful. And I love how you're kind of changing up uh the direction or the size of the pattern based on the planes. Like just that little attention to detail of having it really feel like it's going back in space. Just really great.
Oh, and the hair is so beautiful too. Like you can feel the lighting that's falling on the side of the face. And even things like this one little strand of hair coming down, it's such a beautiful detail. But then Javon also has these big shapes where your eye can rest a little bit more in the composition. All right, next artist is Carolyn Lucky, who I believe is here live with us in the chat. Welcome, Carolyn. And so Carolyn has been experimenting with abstract shapes. Favorite colors are green, blue, and purple. Never been a fan of pink. Challenged myself to do the color pink to see what would happen. Okay, well, let's see what happened when Carolyn went and did the pink. What do you think about this first one?
I think this is fun. It kind of reminds me of the backgrounds in SpongeBob a little bit.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
it has the
the
flowers and
shapes.
stuff. Yeah, the little shapes. I always really like those. And so they definitely bring positive, happy memories to my mind. But I do like the variety in different shapes that you have here. And even though they all kind of have like the splat look to them, really, really fun stuff.
And we have another one here, which is looks like sort of a similar technique as what you did in the last one, but this is such a different vibe. I'm using your word now, Jordan.
Yeah.
It just looks really chunky and a little awkward, but that's what I appreciate about these forms is that they feel like they're moving in so many different directions. So what you've done, Carolyn, is even though these are simple abstract shapes, I really feel like there's a feeling of depth in these compositions. How about this one?
Yeah, it's fun because the green one was like more on the splat abstract thing. The last one you showed that was purple had more rectangular, rigid shapes, and this one is kind of it's kind of in between where it's a lot more round, but it's not quite as sophisticated or as complex as the green one that we saw before. So I think that you're doing really great at getting variety in some of these.
Nice comments from all of you coming. Lisa says they are cute and charming. Avi says very fun. Uma says feels energized. And Grape Dumpling says, I was thinking about indigenous petroglyphs on the purple one. Oh, that's fantastic. I really, really like petroglyphs. I have a certain thing about them. I just think they're the most incredible things. But I think you did an excellent job with the pink. Pink is a hard color to use. I think people have really strong associations, pink being certain things. But what you did, Carolyn, is there's a little tint of purple.
Mhm.
Not enough that it turns purple, but it shifts the pink so that the bright, bright pink in the middle pops more. So it's almost like you have a muted purpley pink that allows the rest of it to really pop out. And I love the collage technique. So keep going with that if that's something that you are excited about. Okay, the next artist is Uma Sharda, and Uma is here live with us in the chat. Welcome, Uma. And so Uma did a whole bunch of marker sketches. There are many of them. And so she says, thought of color to express emotions. Want to try finding reference photos in various expressions. So we have a mad kitty, happy skipping elephant, surprised and timid raccoon, and two baby chicks in blue. Don't Don't you love this?
This is
So
excellent.
funny.
This is excellent. This kind of reminds me of the faces that Mia did for us of the
Yeah.
whole crew. This could be like the new cat mascot almost. It's great.
He's so grouchy, Uma.
He's
Oh my gosh.
super grouchy. He mad.
I,
He's mad.
I feel like he's going to come after me or something. It's a really funny facial expression. And the chicks are so soft. I don't think that's a texture people associate with markers because markers usually are sort of blunt and straightforward. But look at that fur. Isn't that just so tactile? I mean, I feel like I could just grab it.
Yeah, I think the key difference is you could see it in the legs versus the rest of the body. The legs, they have these very firm line, this firm line work, but when you get to the actual like feathers and everything on the outside, it's soft. You can't really tell where the edge of it is, and I think that really contributes to the soft nature of the chicks here.
This raccoon is so big. I feel like he's 100 feet tall and he's very squishy. I love his tail, the little claws at the bottom, and just beautiful layering of your markers, Uma. Like, especially up here, there's just so many marks and so many colors. And we've got a orange bunny who also looks fairly plump, but a little cautious. He's not totally sure, but he's proceeding cautiously. How about this dog?
That dog is up to something. He's
yeah,
up to something.
I don't trust him.
That is fun.
And we also have, what animal is this? Uma, you might have to help us out a little bit. I don't know my rodents.
Looks like a hamster.
Is it a hamster? Do they climb though? I wasn't sure.
That I don't know. I've never owned a hamster, so yeah. But he's cute. Either way, he's very cute.
Yes. Floof. Respect. Absolutely. Shannon has decided the dog is evil. I think I will probably agree with that. Okay, so Uma says it is a hamster. You were right.
Yes. It's a rare thing when I'm right about animals.
And we have the capybaras. We always have to have the capybaras when we look at Uma's work. And it's just so funny to me, Uma, because you've done the capybaras for multiple art dares. You keep finding ways to fit them in. And I just think that is so brilliant. Here's the initial sketch for that angry cat. And God, I don't know my animals. Is this the dogs in the snow?
Like a husky?
What husky. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
It's like a puppy husky.
I know, he's so smushy. And then this really crazy partying elephant. I mean, he looks like he's about to go to a club or something. I just think this is the most wonderful set of animals, Uma. The range of expression is just gorgeous. And what an unusual color, red for an elephant. I mean, you don't see that very often.
No, but I did see it in Tarzan when they had Tantar. You remember?
No.
You ever see Tarzan, the Disney movie? 1999?
Like 100 years ago.
Okay. Then chat, people in the chat, do you guys know what I'm talking about? You guys remember Tantar? Wasn't he a cute red elephant? Someone put it in the Discord.
Okay. The next artist we're going to talk about is Crystal Star. And I believe Crystal is here live with us in the chat. I love it so much when you guys come to the live streams. So Crystal has a piece, it has gold thread, and it represents the traditional women's tattoo design of my ancestors and my circumpolar relations. And so Crystal talks about seal is respected and valued in our culture for the nourishment and warmth. And so Crystal says, I realized piercing the layers of the paper, same concept of our traditional hand poke tattoos. I hope I pronounced all those things correctly. If I didn't, my apologies. But what do you think of this piece?
Wow, this is really cool. It looks so intricate. And I could tell there's so many details I'm not even like fully seeing. Wow. No, I think this is really cool. I've always admired the complexity of tattoo artists. I don't have tattoos myself. I never will. I'm just not that kind of guy. But I respect the art itself. And I think this is a really great tribute to the culture. And
it's a subtle piece. It takes time to see the layering, and the stitching is so beautiful
Mhm.
because there are certain parts, like you've got these horizontal lines that provide the structure, but there's also a couple things here and there, like, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a sort of organic shape that overlaps. Crystal, I don't know if you want to let us know, are those sheets of paper that are collaged on top, or are they sewn into place? Because this is one of those circumstances where I so wish I could see the piece in person, because I'm sure the photograph is not letting me see a lot of aspects that I think would be so beautiful in person. But I'm just blown away, Crystal, by the craftsmanship and the attention to detail. I mean, this cannot have been something that was slow to create. And I'm always admiring so much what people do with all the craftsmanship. Oh, they're seals. Do you
Yeah, I
see
just
it?
noticed that too. Yeah, I just noticed that. It's so subtle. It looks
It's
like there's a
really
lot of
subtle.
stuff to really appreciate here. And something I also find really impressive is the fact that it's on one big sheet of paper. Like if you had messed up or just poked the hole in the wrong spot, it would have been noticeable for everyone. And
Right.
it, based on what I'm seeing, you didn't make any of those mistakes. So again, the craftsmanship is really amazing.
Okay, so Crystal's confirming hand cut seals, watercolor paper, hand sewed. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, I was only seeing a piece of it because of the perspective in the photo, but I love so much how subtle that is that we don't see it immediately. It takes us some time to figure out that composition. Yeah, really hard to capture in a photograph. It's one of those things where we just really need to see that. Yeah, like Pagarami says, really want to get up close to it in person. Okay, next artist is Elvera. And so Elvera says, trying to draw folds in cloth using oil pastels, colored ballpoint pens. And actually, we did have a workshop recently on clothing and drapery. And I know Elvera was working on a bunch of these. So Elvera did a lot of pieces. And it's so fun that a lot of you guys do that because you see the learning. Like we see this one, which is all chunky and textured, and it's so different than this one.
Mhm. Yeah, there is a different energy to each of these drawings, and like you said, it's very fun to be able to see and witness the process of one piece developing, and not just one piece, but a series of images that come together in a short amount of time, and seeing what sticks, what doesn't, what is consistent. Like all these things are really really fun.
And really cool, Elvera, that you did so many different types of colors, because this one is really, really bright, saturated oranges, but this one is super subtle. I love that it's this muted brown, and it's incredible. The highlights really pop. I mean, they do have this beautiful, luminous quality. And I think a lot of that is because the brown is quite muddy. And so the white of the page really comes forward like that. How about this one?
Ooh, this is really cool. I like the action in this, and I actually want to know more about the story behind this. Like, what's exactly happening? I really like the texture, especially towards the top left side, how that's transitioning from. I think that's the Y of the page into, I guess the crayon or the
Yeah.
pastel that's being used. Like something about that is really really unique, and I also like how everything kind of starts feeling more chaotic once we get to the figure.
And here's some exploration with, I think it's pen. I think it's watercolor. Elvira, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong later on. And I love this goldfish piece. And I know that Elvira has worked with the goldfish bowl theme in other pieces. It's an image that keeps coming up in her work as I've watched her progress. And it's sort of like Uma's capybaras. It's like you just start noticing, wow, I'm drawing a lot of capybaras. Like, there's something here that I want to do. And so this is another iteration on that. Did you see the face, Jordan?
Yeah, I was about to ask if you noticed that too, because I was like, "Is that a face? Is that an eye?" So this is fun to look at for that reason, for sure.
It takes a minute. It's not something you see immediately. What I think is funny is that the goldfish is like copying the person.
Yeah, it's like he's leading him somewhere.
Yeah, 7A says goldfishes are my favorite. This is so dreamy. And we also have 7A back here saying it's got texture as well. And someone's dad says, I dug the power lines a lot of variety here. We also have these very expressive portraits, and we've got this really almost electric image with these very, very almost anxious looking marks. I mean, that's what I love about them is there's so much energy. And while technically you only have to make one artwork to officially enter the art dare, we love it when people take it in their own direction and sometimes create bigger pieces or more pieces. Okay, next artist is Shannon. And I think, yes, Shannon is here live with us in the chat. And so Shannon enjoys doing monochromatic artwork and says, at first I was only going to do my favorite colors, but I enjoyed it so much I did all my watercolors. Okay, well, let's see how those all translated into different colors. What's your first impression?
I think the first thing I'm seeing is the illusion of atmospheric perspective in this piece, which I think is great. You see the foreground, how deep and dark that is, and then as we go further back, the watercolor lightens up. And it looks like for the sun that you left a spot white in the background. I think that's really, really great technique there.
Was that masking fluid, Shannon? Because I like the idea of masking fluid, but for some reason, I never use it myself. So when I see other people using it, I feel that I can live vicariously through that experience. And so this is really fun because Shannon, I can see you did several pieces and they all have some similarity, but each one is really quite different because this one, you have different patches of these trees. I like at the bottom how there's a big one, there's little ones in the back. And again, coming back to that atmospheric perspective with things in the background getting lighter and lighter. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's very similar in regards to the atmospheric perspective aspect of it. I like how warm it feels, especially in the foreground with how deep the red gets. I think that's probably my favorite aspect of this piece overall.
Okay, so Shannon confirms masking fluid. And that's really fun, Shannon, that you have that sun as a consistent element in several of these pieces. So even though you're changing up and varying other parts of it, that's a nice little anchor in this series. And I'm so happy that you tried doing the other colors. I don't know if you have plans to do more, Shannon, but I think these are just lovely series of images. Might be fun to try some other colors as well. Yeah, like Lisa says, they'd be lovely cards. I'm getting postal art. Crystal says the warm colored trees are stunning. Avi says lovely. Oh, and Great Dumpling says the blue reminds me of a cyanotype. Very cool. Thank you all for supporting each other. It's just the nicest thing. Okay, the next artist is Lori, who I believe is here live with us in the chat. If you guys don't know who Blue Wolf is, you should, because Blue Wolf is a fantastic, wonderful moderator and has been with us for several years. So I love showing you off in the art dares. So Lori explains it was a bit in and out of your comfort zone. And so Lori's favorite color is blue and explains, I love old Twilight Zone episodes. So took a reference photo, manipulated it, and then got some new pastels. And it says, this is Andy Devine from the Hocus Pocus and Frisbee episode. So I know the Twilight Zone. I haven't seen that episode. Do you know that episode, Jordan?
I don't know the episode, but I am also a big fan of Twilight Zone. It's literally one of my favorite channels on TV.
I still haven't watched the whole thing. I've only watched random episodes, but maybe I need to do that once I finish watching The Sopranos. I'm almost done. I only have 10 episodes left.
Oh, snap.
Well, what do you think about the use of the blue here?
I think this looks really nice. I love how things are shifting so radically between like the eyes and the brows. The planes feel very lifelike, and I can get a sense of how everything's supposed to be turning very, very quickly. And I think that's challenging to do with one color. Oftentimes we tend to rely on lights are warm and shadows are cool, or vice versa. And so doing this is really, really successful, I think. And it makes me want to find it.
There's
So
there's such subtle shifts. If you guys look at the cheek, you'll see that this blue here is more like a periwinkle violet. And then this one is darker and it has a little bit more green. And so blue, you have just this wonderful shift of subtlety. It's not like you're using really bright rainbow blue colors. It's actually a very limited palette in that sense, which I think is a lot tougher to do. And I love the pattern so much. Oh my gosh. Patterning like this, it is not easy to do. I feel like anytime I see a plaid shirt, I'm like, I'm not painting that. So why do you think the pattern is so well done, Jordan?
I think part of it is that it feels very consistent as a shirt overall. It's one thing to just have lines going back and forth, and that could be easily communicated as a different texture or a different substance or whatever. But this all feels like it's a part of one unit as a shirt. So I think for that reason, it's really, really excelling.
Neil agrees. The texture is so good. And Michael, I'm sorry. I'll try to remember seeing blue in so much of the work tonight. And Crystal says, so much respect to all the artists who submit multiple pieces. All right, the next artist is Tia. Again, apologies if I mispronounce your name. And so Tia was a little wary of this art dare, as Tia says they've never tried painting with just one color before. And it is a challenge. It's so much easier to have other colors to help bail you out on things. But Tia explains, I got the hang of it, and it was a lovely experience. So let's take a look at this painting. And I'm so glad, Tia, that you sent us these works in progress images. I always love seeing that part of the process. What do you think of this apple?
It makes me hungry, which I am right now.
Yes.
Yeah, but I actually think my favorite part of it is the stem and the area kind of that's curving into it, because it feels three dimensional. It's usually one of those areas that we tend to leave out or to pay less attention to. But with the, like, you have things like the small highlight on the left of the stem and like a little bit on the top, makes it feel very three dimensional. I like that you pay attention to the detail like that.
And then up here, you can see how blue the green becomes, and such a different texture, because in that apple, you can feel the roundness, you see the sheen of the apple. And then back here, especially on the right-hand side, it looks like that soft, I guess, fleece-like fabric, which doesn't absorb light, and then super bold highlights on the bottle. So Tia, you did an amazing job distinguishing the various types of surfaces. So we really get an understanding of what is shiny, what is soft. Even this little pedestal that the cup is sitting on top of, it has a particular architecture to it, which makes it really look like it's standing up. And so you put all those things together, and it's a painting which engages you in so many different ways. I like that the bottle's so tall because it gets us into the upper section of the piece. But that apple weighs like 500 pounds. So we don't have to worry about the still life falling over. I just think that is fantastic. All right, everybody, we have some prizes to give out. The honorable mention goes to Uma. We were so excited to see all of your animals in addition to the capybaras. And the prize winner is Michal Taylor-Phillips. Congratulations, everybody. We are so proud of you and all of your time and dedication and support to each other during the month. Quick reminder before we announce the dare, we do have several workshops that are running. We have collage and mixed media, pen and ink, landscapes and water, the flowers workshop, acrylic painting as well. So these are all May and June workshops. We do keep registration open until 2 days before the workshop, or before, once it fills, then we close the registration. All right, the May Art Dare, we're going to call it real life. Wow, what a revolutionary concept in the 21st century. So we're going to challenge you all. You're going to make a 2D or 3D artwork that's created entirely from direct observation. And at the risk of sounding like an old fart, Jordan, I'm going to say that I do think people draw from life less because it is so easy to get access to images. When I was a kid, if it wasn't in a magazine that you owned or it was in a book or you went to the library, you did not get a photo of it. And now it's like I just tap twice and all of a sudden there's 1,000 Hugh Jackman images, which is awesome.
Specifically Hugh Jackman too. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So Jordan, why do you think drawing from life is a good experience? I'm not trying to say that you should never draw from photos. I do it all the time. And drawing from life is not very convenient, okay? For a lot of people, it's like, oh, I can kick back, relax. I don't have to worry about anything changing on me. And yet we have you here doing a pencil sketch of a big boulder in California. What do you get out of drawing from life that you cannot ever get from a photo?
I mean, real life is real life. It's hard to kind of describe it because there are certain things that you just have to experience, right? Like it's one thing to watch someone, drinking a cool, refreshing lemonade or something, but it's another thing to actually experience that for yourself. And it's the same thing with artwork. When you're looking at something like a tree or a rock or a person and drawing from real life, there's a certain tactility that you're getting. There's a certain experience that is kind of hard to describe. And at the risk of going on too long, the painters for the movie Prince of Egypt, they actually went to Death Valley to figure out how to paint these giant desert scenes to make the movie like feel hot in certain moments. So they were painting in like the hot sun, just figuring out how it worked, and clearly, ended up working well for them in the film.
Neil's asking, does it have to be realistic? Can I add imaginary details? Nope. We are going entirely from direct observation. And I think sometimes, Jordan, the reason people don't draw from life is because they're worried they won't be able to finish it. But to me, when you draw from life, it's oftentimes not about creating a finished masterpiece. For example, I drew these ducks, okay? They're really dumb drawings, I know. I probably spent about 15 seconds on each one, but to me, I wasn't really trying to draw a detailed duck. I was looking at their movements because some of them were spazzing out. You know, when they do that crazy thing with their wings, and then some of them are just like chilling. Like to me, that was more what this experience was about. I didn't really care if my ducks didn't look super realistic. And so sometimes it's these fragments that are expressing something other than detail. Because to be honest, I think detail's overrated. What do you think?
It can definitely be overrated for sure. I guess it depends on what you're working on, but there is a sense of freedom when you're working from life because of the limitations that are usually out of our control. Even if we're drawing from a model, there's a certain limit of time that they can actually sit in that pose. Or if it's weather and the sun is changing, or the shadows are different, like you kind of have to move fast and just enjoy the experience.
And who cares if it doesn't look exactly like this cat? I mean, if you look at my drawing, the eyes are gigantic and I totally messed up the proportions. But to me, this is not about getting an amazing cat drawing. It's about being there. And actually, for me, Jordan, a lot of drawing from life is just looking. Do you find that's the case for you?
Yeah, I think when doing figure drawing, we were told we need to look at the figure like 65% of the time and spend the other 35 drawing or something along those lines. But yeah, you usually look more than you actually put the pencil down.
Because so much of being an artist is training your eye. That is not the same thing as training your hand to do something, knowing how to really look. And honestly, a lot of people will talk to me about, well, I want to get better at color. And I say, if you want to get better at color, you need to stop looking at color in photographs. You need to start looking at color in real life, because color in real life, it's more diverse and it's actually easier to see. Sometimes in a photograph, it just gets really flat. Mm-hmm. So Karasu's asking, would a still life of my stuffed animals and vintage toys count? Absolutely. Anything you're seeing in real life. Like if I want to do a drawing of my Hugh Jackman cutout, I can do that. It's from life, right? I'm just going to draw Hugh from life.
What a loophole. Oh my gosh.
See? It's perfect, right? Or even, I mean, Lauren was asleep when I did this sketch of her. And to me, this is about preserving that moment. We had just arrived in China. She was super jet lagged. And to me, this drawing is a record of that. It's not meant to be some big masterpiece. Or do you ever draw when you're bored, like you're stuck somewhere and you don't have anything to do and I just sketch? Do you ever do that?
I should do it more, but I usually end up like watching YouTube videos.
So my kid was at orchestra rehearsal. And so I did this quick sketch of the orchestra. Sometimes I'm in Japan. But again, you don't have to go anywhere fancy. You can totally just sit at your desk and draw Hugh Jackman. That's totally fine. It doesn't have to be on the other side of the world. And sometimes the drawings are wonky. Like these are not very good, but it's training. And so, Jordan, I think a big part of it is just not thinking about product. Like it's entirely about the process, like being there.
Yeah, I think one key that I would give for you guys who are going to take on the art dare is to really just be in the moment and
Yeah.
just have as much fun with it as possible. And hopefully you do that with art anyway. But try not to overthink things. Try not to be over labor or belabor things. Just look at it and enjoy the process and have fun.
Karasu's asking, would a cartoon version, something observed in real life, count? If you have a stuffed animal, let's say it's an anime character, sure. It just has to be in front of you. So you don't want to draw something that is in your head. Like you don't want to make a Pegasus or something like that. That doesn't count for this particular art dare. So Avi says, I always create things out of my head. I need to do some real life drawing. Well, Jordan, you have so many character designs and there's so many things you invent for shadow boxers. And yet you do have bona fide life drawing experience.
Yeah, I've been drawing a figure for 14 years now, pretty consistently, going to sessions and workshops and things. And so there's a lot of there's a lot of mental images I have of that experience, and I have books on it. I have my stack of drawings. You guys have probably seen them on a few streams in the past. So I have a lot of stuff in my head, but even then, I prefer to draw from life when I can. I don't have a model that I can just call up, but if I did, that would be actually really helpful.
Great point from Chris. Process over product. Enjoy the experience. Guess what this is? This is when I got bored of sketching the orchestra. So I sketched all the parents. They were all sitting there with coffee and looking at their phones. I thought that was a pretty funny sketch. Or sometimes I'll sketch at dinner. Like this was in China. I was sketching some of the dumplings. This is a family gathering because I confess, I don't like socializing that much. So if I sketch, nobody bothers me. And so sometimes just at family dinners, I'll just pull up my sketchbook and draw people at the table. Sometimes I'm very grouchy when I'm drawing on site because it was 95 degrees and I'm trying to sketch this temple and I'm super tired. So it's not always comfortable or super easy, but it is an experience. And so that's what we're after. So Uma's asking, would a structured life drawing class be okay? Yeah, absolutely. And Lisa says, I drew a stone bust at a museum today. Absolutely. And we also have Katz is going to make the silliest still life. Well, I can't wait to see what you guys do because these drawings are going to tell a story. They're going to tell us what you saw, what you experienced. And that to me is really wonderful. So if you want to do the Art Dare Leap, I think a lot of you guys did the Art Dare Leap like 8 times. So you can do more pieces. This is not required. It's only for those of you who guys want to take a more ambitious route. Remember, hang out in the Discord. We have so much fun watching everybody's progress throughout the month. So please join us in there. Share your works in progress. Share your ideas. We love seeing that throughout the month. To officially enter, you want to tag us on Instagram. Please make sure you tag us because Instagram changed this dumb thing where we can't search hashtags by recent. It's very annoying. So you have to make sure you tag us in order to make sure that we see your post. And on artprof.org, we do have on the Art Dare page, there is a Google form. So for those of you guys who are not on social media, you can just submit this way. And join me. I will be in the Discord right after this stream. Meet us in post live streams channel, and we'll get to chat more and talk about different ways we can draw our cutout of Hugh Jackman from life. Join our art school portfolio groups. It is time to get a head start. I know a lot of people feel that maybe it's too soon. It is never too soon to get that feedback. In fact, that's a big mistake, that people wait too long to get that feedback. So we provide lots of support, voice sessions, critiques, professional feedback. Did you guys know you can sponsor a video? If there's something that you would like us to make a video about, let us know. There is a link in the YouTube video description, because I have so many videos I want to make, but not all of them generate a lot of revenue. Like the Andrew Raftery video, I think it made us $20 so far on YouTube. Not very profitable, but I think it was really worth the time. Thank you so much to our amazing top Patreon supporters for being there for us, holding things up here at Art Prof. Visit artprof.org. We have so much content out there that's not on YouTube. Use the search bar. Art Prof has a podcast. It's available on Spotify and also on iTunes. And subscribe to our channel for more tutorials, critiques, and business tips while you look at Buddy hugging the wall. I don't know what he's doing here, but I think it's very comfortable somehow. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.